Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it said morning, so we're trying to get used to that. We got our guy Cardell already on the phone with us. I'm Wilson Tarpey. That's Cardell Dudley that's calling in. So, Cardell, how's everything going, man?
I'm alive, I'm still here, but it's been like a long day, a few days, but I'm here, and so here to talk Maryland State Championship today and the A10 semifinals, and give a quick recap of what happened in the A10 quarterfinals yesterday.
Man, busy, busy, busy. We told you guys this is about to be a busy time for the show. And this week, Cardell's just going through it. There's a lot of coverage, a lot of stuff going on. And if this is your first time tuning in, we do our best between his outlet over at Finest Mag, ours over there, and then here with the Focus, which is our joint effort. And we do our best to cover everything in this area that's sports related. Cardell on the hoops, he has that locked from each and every single level. And, talking to him, I just been trying to make sure he's alive because that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, man, hey, duty calls, man, so you got to suck it up sometimes and get it done. So, that's what I'm doing. It'll be over soon, but, at the same time while I'm grinding, I'm enjoying it, you know what I'm saying? So, enjoying seeing the young talent that's coming up, man, just seeing the competition and, playoff time, so the intensity is rising.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody trying to, make their mark in history.
All right, man. So where do you want to start? So we got some
time. We can start with the high school game since it's championship day, Maryland boys basketball state championship day. Yesterday they had the 1A and 2A state finals. If folks remember on Thursday, I called in to kind of give an update on the 3A and 4A. So I'm gonna give a quick update on the 1A and 2A semifinals. In the first game, Dunbar, yes, that legendary Dunbar from out of Baltimore, led by senior Deshaun Phillips, who scored a game-high 19 points, and Malik McCormick, who had an 18, defeated Clear Springs 69-43. It's the Poets' first championship appearance since 2013. In the second 1A semifinal matchup, the defending 1A champions Fairmont Heights defeated Patterson Mill 72-49. They were led by senior Kamani Benjamin, who scored 17 points. So Fairmont Heights would take on Paul Lawrence Dunbar, the legendary Dunbar out of Baltimore, in a 1A championship today at 1 p.m. at University of Maryland at the Xfinity Center. Free. Go check it out. It's guaranteed, to be an experience. One trying to hold on to the trophy, and another one who's used to always having it, trying to get it back. So, expect it to be intense. And the first 2A matchup, Lake Clifton, another Baltimore powerhouse, led by, Herman Tree Harik, one of the best coaches in the country. They defeated Oakdale 68-61. Lake Clifton was led by sophomore guard Michael Gray, who scored 22 points, and senior guard Ben Carter, who added 19. And then the final game of the night, final 2A game, North Carolina defeated River Hill 62-48. They were led by senior guard Joey Adams, who poured in a game-high 31 points. So here's the matchups for today's championship matchup. Like I said, in the 1A at 1 p.m., Dunbar takes on the defending champs Fairmont Heights. At 3 p.m. in the 3A matchup, Baltimore Poly, who's also the defending champions, will take on Milford Mill in the All-Baltimore Championship. And at 6 p.m. is the 2A. Lake Clifton takes on North Carolina. And in the 8 p.m. matchup, Perry Hall, who's the defending champs for the 4A, takes on, PG County. Just a surprising story in itself, man. But kudos to those guys over there at Bladensburg High School. They got high. They made a nice run, and now they're in the championship with a chance to, pull off the upset with the favorite Perry Hall. So that's the rundown for the Maryland State Boys Championship.
Yeah, it sounds like Baltimore is definitely well represented, and I hope Bladensburg can go ahead and finish this run off right. There's never anything wrong with, sometimes the best thing, we're talking about basketball this time of year, postseason, whether it's high school, college, whatever. This is the best time of the year to get hot. However you were early in the season, it's irrelevant.
No doubt. I mean, look, it's always saying in basketball, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And, if you just stay with the program, keep working on everything, good things that happen at the end. And that's what you're seeing with a lot of teams. Now, some teams we expected to be there, like Baltimore Poly and everything, Perry Hall or something like that, Fairmont Heights. But, the thing about Maryland State, you never quite know. You know what I'm saying? So, and truthfully about Baltimore, the last few years they've been well represented, man. Those coaches have been doing an excellent job in their high schools. They don't cut their kids any slack. They make them work hard, and they force them to be better than what they are, and it shows on the court. They always well represented in state championships last few years. So, that's, respect to those guys up there in Baltimore who always, doing a great job coaching.
Definitely. All right, man. So we're gonna move up a level here.
Yep.
The A10 tournament, man.
Man, that thing was intense, man.
Dude,
and,
look, you told all I thought about initially. Obviously, even when we're away, we both kind of just, unless we're all the way unplugged, you can't help but watch, follow along and stuff. So after that riveting preview we got from you last week, I definitely had to check in on the A10 tournament just a little bit. Man, it's been a hell of a tournament thus far.
Oh yeah, man. Unfortunately, GW they failed. They fell in the first round. They fell to St. Louis. It was a close game, but then Utah Watanabe, their senior leader, who's definitely gonna get a lot of NBA looks. I've been saying that all season. He fell, got injured, and when he went out, the air kind of went out from the team. They couldn't really score, and St. Louis picked them apart. So, so obviously the Colonial season ended before they wanted to, but they'll be back. They got a couple transfers who had to sit out this year who are nasty. I'm gonna save that for when the next season comes. You know what I'm saying? You people get a preview this summer down at the Kennedy League. They play. They here. They go back home and play in Chicago. So. But they'll be okay. Had a lot of transfers. I think Coach Mo and that staff did a good job under the situations that were going on with a lot of key transfers from last year that left unexpectedly, and they had to kind of regroup on the fly. So, great staff. They develop players clearly, as you can see with Kavanaugh and Utah and all that. So they'll be fine down the line. But as for the semifinals, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better first game with top seed Rhode Island hosting. I'm gonna just keep it real. The A10 powerhouse VCU. VCU has dominated that conference since they joined, and so it was intense. Their crowds came out to play and whatnot, and Rhode Island, who I've always said, that they have the deepest backcourt in all of college basketball. They literally have 6 guards that, if you spread them out on different teams, they would be starting. And they range from freshmen to seniors. That's why it's so hard to deal with them. A couple guys are off, the other guys will step up. It's just like you just know that guard play is going to be on point every game. That's harder to scout for and deal with. But Rhode Island, led by sophomore point guard, who's a local kid, went to St. John's, played for DC Blue Devils. Jeff Doughton at senior guard, Jared Terrell. They knocked off Virginia. The Commonwealth, 76-67. Despite a monster 23 point, 15 rebound, double-double from Rams senior forward Justin Tillman. Doughton posted a team-high 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, while Terrell added 16 points. The key to this game was that Rhode Island had the edge on VCU in points off turnovers. They turned them over and they scored. At fast break points, they got the edge in at 16-14, and bench scoring 15-12. Like I said, at depth. Like when Rhode Island up, and when VCU tried to make a run to tie or possibly take a lead, and the depth would wear them down, they would just capitalize off of it. And that's basically what their kind of weakness throughout the season. When they have lost Rhode Island, I'm speaking of, they don't close games, but they always get a lead. Right. And like I said, that's because of the guard play, man.
Dude, I was so impressed by their guards. The kid you said, Doughton, man.
Yeah, he's special. he has a shot, man. He has a shot at the league. Not yet. He still got to get his shot better, get stronger.
And all their guards come in different sizes and like physically, just different sizes.
Yeah, he's a good 6'3", 6'4", but his length is he's a lot long. His length is bigger than his size, man. Right. I think he got like a wingspan like 6'7", 6'8", and he's real smart, man. Like you can't speed him up. I think he's the best in the college at assist to turnover ratio. He don't turn the ball over hardly at all. And if his dude is the best believe those assists gonna rack up, man. So as a defense, you got to always be alert. Yeah. Because if you even help side, if you're not rotating or you fall asleep 1 second, he'll find that open guy. And they, like I said, they have the guards to make you pay. They can shoot three, shoot the mid range. They can get to the cup. They're capable of free throw shooters and stuff. They can make plays for others. And, they can defend. Hey, man, they're athletic. Hey, dog, they're a problem.
Guard play, man.
Hey, they gonna play deep in the March.
Right.
See that. So, they won the first matchup in advance. And this will bring me to my next game, St. Joseph. St. Joseph took on George Mason in the second semifinal game. And as we also talk about, sometimes, man, it's not even nothing really, genius when it comes to basketball. Sometimes, man, it's just simple as making shots. And St. Joe's made more shots than George Mason. St. Joe's led by sophomore Nick Robinson, 14 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. And freshman Taylor Funk's 12 points and 10 rebounds defeated George Mason 68-49 to advance to the A10 semifinals, where they would face top seed Rhode Island. George Mason was led by junior guard John Grayers, who had 12 points and 10 rebounds. Basically, George Mason was ice cold the whole game. They shot 26% from the field in the second half, 5% from deep. They shot 29% in the first half. They just couldn't get the ball to fall. And, while the Hawks were St. Joseph, while they was cold in the first half, they turned it up in the second half. They shot over 50% from the field and shot 60% from deep. And the biggest key was their defense. They frustrated and locked in on Otis Livingston II, who's George Mason's leading scorer. He came in averaging 17.6 points, and he finished the game with 8 points and 1 assist on 3 of 13 shooting.
That's a heck of a job in terms of executing on defense.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. With that being said, Phil Martelli wasn't pleased with his team's play. He was pissed that his team had 6 turnovers in the first half, and he feel like that's not, that's just not smart basketball. And and he said they scored 9 baskets just off those turnovers. So if they had controlled the ball more, the game would have been close in the second half. That's his mentality. And obviously against Rhode Island, you turn the ball over. It's kind of similar to the Warriors. They're going to get up the floor and they're going to score. So they won't be able to do that. They're going to try to knock those guys off. So, like I said, they play Rhode Island today. I keep saying tomorrow. They play them today at 1 p.m. So that should be a good one. Phil Martelli's one of the best coaches in college basketball. Definitely been one of the top coaches in the A10. So it'd be a, nice little battle, not just on the floor, but on the sidelines with him and Dan Hurley going at it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely excited to see that. And third quarterfinal game, second seed St. Bonaventure. I've been talking about them. Their guard depth is not as deep, but they can rumble with anybody. You know what I'm saying? They got 3 guards that can rumble with anybody with Jalen Adams, Matt Mobley. It's just that what happened in this game it caught me by surprise, man. I didn't expect this. I knew Richmond would kind of give them a game because this time of year everybody's trying to get to the tournament, so you're gonna get everybody's best shot.
Right.
But I didn't expect this. Obviously, St. Bonaventure, they defeated Richmond 83-77 in a game that shouldn't have been that close, but, that's credit to Richmond for not giving up, especially after the barrage from Matt Mobley, who finished with a game-high 29 points and A10 conference tournament single-game record, 9 3-pointers. Yes, he had 9 3-pointers, 9 out of 13. Meanwhile, he only scored once from anywhere else. So that tells you how hot he was from 3-point range. He added 3 rebounds and 3 assists. At Richmond was led by, I got to admit, he was almost as equally as impressive Quan Ford, who finished with 25 points on 7-11 shooting, 6 rebounds and 4 assists. That was pretty much the difference in the game, the 3-point shooting. And Matt Mobley was the reason for that. He literally at one point made 6 threes in a row. It was unbelievable. Not even hitting the rim. He was just hot. And Richmond got on their heels. St. Bonaventure, the Bonnies almost got up by a dub. But, Richmond battled back thanks to 4, DeMonte Buckingham. Those guys, Grant Golden, they battled back, just executing. And the Bonnies allowed them back in the game because they couldn't hit free throws in the second half. And, you got to hit the free throws and stuff like that when you had the opportunity. Otherwise, it's basically just a turnover.
Yeah.
And, exactly. So Luckily for the Bonnies, they got help from Courtney Starger, who posted 19 points and 5 rebounds and 5 assists and 4 rebounds. And then for Ladarian Griffin added 17 points and 7 rebounds. And, most of those points in the second half were, clutch free throw shooting to kind of close out the game. That's why the game was close at the end. Had they made free throws, it would have been an easy 20-point win. But, you got to make, mental things, the small things to add up the big things later. And, like I said, I got a lot of respect for Richmond because really they could have just quit, especially when Matt Mobley went off. And the dangerous thing about this St. Bonaventure game, they did all this with Jalen Adams being held scoreless for most of the game. He only scored, it was unbelievable. And he was trying, but they was going in and out and stuff like that. So they did a good job kind of like with, they did the Otis Livingston. St. Joe's did the Otis Livingston. They keyed in on Jalen Adams. But like I said, they got guards that, that can get it done as well outside of Jalen Adams. So that's what won the game.
That's tough.
But
really tough.
And so, that's, that was the difference right there. Obviously, the Bonnies were waiting. They advanced, so they were waiting for the winner, St. Louis and Davidson. And that was pretty much over before it began. Co-player of the year, senior forward Peyton Aldridge, he scored a game-high 35 points and 7 rebounds. I believe he had 22 in the first half. And then 5 assists and freshman guard. Keep an eye on this kid, Kellen Grady. He's definitely special, man. He had 19 points to help, Davidson cruise to a 78-60 quarterfinal win. Basically, the Wildcats jumped out to a 21-10 lead. You could just tell it was over. St. Louis can hit a bucket. They fell apart. You can see their emotions. Just, you just look at their body language and knew that, they were just done. They got knocked out real early. So, the Wildcats just put it on them. They shot 54% from the field, 47% from three. Davidson also dished out 18 assists and only turned the ball over 5 times during the game. When you execute and efficient like that, it's hard to beat anything. So they will travel tomorrow. Well, not travel. They'll take on St. Bonaventure tomorrow at 3:30 in the second semifinal game, with a chance to go to the A10 Championship.
All right. So, do you envision, when the dust settles, Rhode Island and the Bonnies getting at each other's necks once again?
I wouldn't mind seeing it, but it's gonna be tough. Peyton Aldridge he's an NBA prospect. What he made, I don't know. But when you score 35 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, he's capable of kind of beating St. Bonaventure on his own, especially with Kellen Grady. And they're well coached. They don't play outside themselves.
Okay.
So with those type of teams, you got to execute.
Right.
And what worries me about the Bonnies is, when they got up big, they kind of got sloppy. And how, even though Jalen Adams is a senior, you don't expect it to mess with him, but how is,
he gonna respond
the confidence in the shooting. You see what I'm saying? Messing with him. But credit to him, he didn't allow that to bother him. He made plays for others. I think he had about 8 assists in the game. But, there's a reason why they were third and Bonnies were second. They kind of even. I don't know. The Davidson got the advantage inside, obviously, with Aldridge, and the Bonnies got the advantage. They have more depth on the perimeter. So I think it's just going to be who execute the most and it come down to what coach put them in the best positions to execute, man. It's really that simple, man. It's hard for me to say right now because, seeing what Mobley did yesterday, but then seeing what Aldridge did, I can't get an edge. It's tough.
So it's safe to say whoever comes out of this, heading into selection Sunday with this, with that automatic bid, whoever comes out on top in the A10 is going to be well deserved.
Oh, no doubt. I think they already got 2 teams that will Rhode Island, St. Bonaventure. Regardless of what happens, I think Davidson need to win it to get in. Because St. Bonaventure is 25 and 26 on the season, and Rhode Island is 24 and 6. So, I think those 2 are in regardless. I think Davidson just trying to. Or St. Joe's in that matter, you can't just dismiss them. They made it there for a reason. They well coached. Those 2 teams are trying to fight just to add a third team to the mix. Right. I think those 2 are in regardless. Now, winning the championship for those 2 teams would obviously help them get a better seeding. That might be the goal, but I think they're in regardless. They played well. They beat some high majors or whatever. But I tell people all the time, man, at A10 is nothing to sneeze at, man. And people say mid-major, but I'm like,
they stop that.
They produce NBA players every year. They're highly competitive, and they run with the best of them, man. They might not be as deep as like an ACC or Big 12 or whatnot, their top teams get rumbled. So I don't really consider them like a mid. I call them like a high mid major.
Right.
You know, if the high majors are A, you know, on the grade scale are A, then A10 is definitely a B. So you can't. And the coaching is definitely A. It's not even a game in there. Look, if you weak in there any kind of way, if you can't coach or something, you will get exposed immediately.
Just think about the coaches, the names you just shared. Stuff about Hurley, Martelli.
Milcop from Davidson, you know, Travis Ford for St. Louis. Man, look,
that's not a mid-major.
Coaches in that league,
it's disrespectful
man.
to say mid-major. That's a tough conference.
Yes, it is, man. So people think, you know, but you know, I've been covering it for 4 years, and you just get a newfound respect, and especially some of the schemes a lot of these coaches drop, and then you got to look at it for most of the time in A10. Everybody was chasing Shocker.
Right.
You know, and even Will Wade, I think he was there last year. I think he's at LSU. Oh no, my bad. He's at Florida now. He's at Florida now. So, you know, it's a strong conference. So I fully, you know, they're gonna do a lot of damage in the tournament. Especially, I expect Rhode Island, man, unless they just run into a beast or something. And there's only a couple of them, you know, like they running in, you know, Arizona. You know what I'm saying, like Aiden or something. They don't have the size to deal with him or somebody like that. But There's only a couple of those in college basketball. But like I said, you know, in the tournament, guard play reigns supreme. You got great guard play, it can get you over the hump. So you know he might dominate. Their guard play up to their potential, then you can do a lot of damage.
These are facts. Even when you got a dominant big on that level, you still need a backcourt perimeter players capable of getting that big the ball. So,
indeed,
we've seen it happen before. But thank you so much, man, and get you a little bit of rest. I know it's another long day for you. Everybody, if you guys aren't following Finest Magazine already, please do so. Also, the Focus TV on social media. He's been busy posting on both accounts. I said he's doing the work with a couple people over there, man. So I salute you, sir. Get some rest, and look forward to what you come back with next week. I mean, I'm gonna see you on Tuesday, but everybody else will be back next week.
Oh, no doubt, man. All right, man. Go ahead, hold it down.
Do my best, sir. Do my best. All right, everybody. It's our guy Cardell Dudley from finestmag.com. Also, another one of the trio of hosts here on the Focus, and one of the executive producers here, man. So we having fun. We had fun with that first segment. We got a lot of show left though. So coming up, we're gonna take a quick break, but coming on the other side of the break, again, be remiss if we don't talk about the Wizards just a little bit. We got some DC United talk, and then we got my guy Owen Riese calling in. And we're gonna break down some of this NFL draft stuff, but since we still got time to draft, not till April 26th, I believe, we're only gonna talk offense. So don't miss that. You definitely don't want to miss that, because depending on where your team drafted and with free agency, it's kind of really fluid, that situation right now. You got the Browns out here making moves like it's Madden. It's gonna be fun, man. So Wizards up next, then DC United, then our guy Owen calling in to talk about the NFL draft. Well, the prospects on the offensive side of the ball. You're watching the Focus TV, and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. So we just finished the first segment. Shout out again to Cardell Dudley holding us down. We truly appreciate it. Man, so much from Maryland High School States and the A10 Tournament. That being said, man, we're about to knock this out right now with the Wizards. Actually, you know what? We're going to go ahead and try to bring Cardell back, actually, if we can, because that probably makes more sense to finish this Wizard segment the right way. It actually makes the most sense because, why not, right? But yeah, the Wizards last night just started a road trip, took on the New Orleans Pelicans. They handled their business, man. They did what they needed to do, and definitely got to commend them for that. Hey, Cardell, you're right. It makes the most sense to have you on while we talk about the Wizards, too. So as I just told the good folks, last night the Wizards started their short road trip. They're back in town by Tuesday, but they got a couple games on the road, starting with New Orleans last night. Obviously, no Anthony Davis. And to those who are making, you sent me a text last night from some Wizards fans. You guys bug me somehow, some way. Again, don't have any emotional ties to your team. So coming from a completely objective place, yes, the Pelicans didn't have Anthony Davis, who's been playing out of his mind. Cool. You were also, Washington, missing your Kentucky superstar, or your Kentucky star, rather. So both of you, no Kentucky guys for either team. The Wizards won. You did what you're supposed to do. That doesn't diminish the win in any type of way. You're in a part of the season where even if a team's missing their players, you got to deal with it. The Wizards have been missing their best player for, going on a month and some change. So how does that mean the teams that they beat, they should be offended by that? Nah, I mean, it's sports. Somebody's down, next man step up. It is what it is. I mean, the Pelicans are still a good team without Anthony Davis. Obviously, they're on another level with him on the court. That being said, earlier this year when all Kentucky parties were on the court, Washington did win. So let's just want to throw that out there before we get all crazy with the they didn't have Anthony Davis conspiracies and whatnot. Shout out to my man Emeka Okafor, man, getting back to the NBA.
Oh boy, UConn. Woo, y'all seen better days.
Man, I had to find something to be proud. I had to find something. Okay, going through one of them dark times right now.
Hey, you about to be back on top when the women tournament play, y'all. You be just fine.
Hey, look, what do I always tell you? They get me through so much. I just don't go into the depth some people go to with their men's programs at times because I just look over at Gino and what's over there, and everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. But back to the Wizards. They beat the Pelicans 116-97, even though, that margin doesn't look like it was, like a super big margin. It was a good win by Washington. They got a lot of production. Otto with 19.7 rebounds. You got Keith with 17 points and 6 boards. 16 points and 16 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists from Brad Beal. And again, they snapped the Pelicans' 10-game win streak. So go ahead, your initial thoughts on that win last night, man.
And they did what they were supposed to do. They finally limited the turnovers. They didn't turn the ball over a lot. They had 12, which is kind of like what they averaged, during that streak when they was winning a few games in a row. When Wall first got hurt, you see all these people saying they're better without Wall. When they take care of the ball, they're a dangerous team to be. Like I said, they just did what they're supposed to do. And that's like kind of why piggyback off what you were saying earlier. If the Wizards most of the season would have lost to a team like this before.
Mm-hmm.
Because they came in BS and stuff like that. So the fact that they're winning when they're supposed to, it's an improvement. You got to keep it real because they lost a lot of games to teams they shouldn't have, which is kind of why they're in the spot they are in right now.
These are facts.
But with all that being said, they still, fourth place or fifth? Yeah, they're in fourth place with a tie with the Pacers because the Pacers won.
Yep.
So they got a big game with the Pacers coming up next Friday. So that's going to be a must-win, So, but I was pleased with what I saw from the front court. For the most part, Otto Porter's been the most consistent player on the Wizards.
Yes, he has.
Hands down this season. Hands down. He's always. I think that dude only had like 3 bad games, and that's when he first came back off injury. He was rusty. Every other season, you could pretty much press him in for about 19, 20 points and between 7 and 10 rebounds a game, and he's efficient. That is a lot, man. So I'm happy with what he's doing. He's validated his contract. He just got to continue with it into the playoffs. He'll turn your game up even more, man. don't be shy and all that stuff like that. Like I told you before, sometimes in clutch situations, I even wanted to see him, get a shot at it other than, Bill and everything like that. So, because you never know. Now he started hitting shots. It's like, damn, we got to worry about when Wall come out, Wall, Bill, and Porter.
I mean, it can only make things better, because like you said, now you can't load up on somebody, and we've seen, in past years, when John and Brad are both out there, someone's going to get that extra attention, and more often than not, Otto's one of the people that end up helping off a little bit, and he's a capable shot maker. He showed us that he's, the last stretch, like you said, post All-Star break, he's showing you that he's worth every freaking penny. Thus far.
I love, Kelly Oubre's shot wasn't falling. I love how he tried to impact the game in other ways with his defense. He had 4 steals, rebounding. Tomas Satoransky, just missed the flow, man. He keeps the flow going on offense, man. He had 8 points and 9 assists. Jody Meeks came off the bench with 10. Mike Scott came off the bench with 14. That's the bench we know for them to produce how they produce with most of the season. So, it was business as usual. They had to handle this and they had to do what they had to do. They got a tough one tomorrow against Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In Miami.
You know what I'm saying? In Miami. And Miami starting to jail. I see what D-Wade doing. We're going to have a flashback, no pun intended. He out here looking like this 06 and stuff, man, dunking on dudes, catching lobs. It's a problem, and they fight for playoff position too, so they got to win that game, man. Like, every game from now on is pretty much playoffs. That's how they should look at it. And I'm sure Brooks got them looking at it like that. So, just keep winning. However you got to do it, just win.
Yeah, and as you said, looking at everything like it's a playoff matchup, essentially it is, which is close as every team is in the standings from 4 down to 8. It is. It literally is. It can't even be too hard to look at it as anything but that.
The Wizards are currently 4th. They're tied with the Pacers at 38-28, but they got the, win margin over them right now. The tiebreak over them. And Philly 3 games back in them. But the thing is, Washington only a half game back with Cleveland, because Cleveland lost last. So I would love to see them, I don't know. Philly don't have the experience. Indiana tough, and they well coached. So you saw what you saw what they did when they came up here. So that's not an easy win, man. So just rack up the wins. How about that? Just going to playoffs, rack up the wins, and when Wall get back, it'll be all good. Then y'all full strength, and then it's just time to rumble.
And that's the crazy part. We've seldom seen this team at full strength all year. Most of the time, someone's been nicked up a little bit, and then when they've been at full strength, they weren't playing with this type of this sense of urgency. It wasn't as high earlier in the year when they were kind of not playing too well and BSing a little bit. This is the nicest way to say it. But yeah, man, it's big for them. We'll see. They come back home on Tuesday. Got a game against the Wolves, I believe. So
we'll be there.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Obviously, you got to take care of business against your Eastern Conference opponents, but with everything being so tight, wins against the Pelicans, the Wolves, things like that, these are the type of things that might get you over the edge, especially when you consider, the Pacers have a tiebreaker over you. The things that can help are these out-of-conference wins.
Man, I don't know. They need to win against everybody, because like I said, they can't afford to beat the T-Wolves or a quality team and lose to a lot. You see what I'm saying? They need wins. And also, low-key, it extends the time for John Wall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where he don't have to rush back. If they go on the slide where it's like, man, they threatening not to make the playoffs or something, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to make that push to get back in there. So, knowing him, he's going to try to make that push to get back in there, because he's a dog. He's a competitor. So he ain't going to just let the ship sink without trying to help, kind of like what he did the year before last. And that's why he had to get off-season surgery and stuff. He just pushed his body to the max.
And again, like I was talking with Rodney earlier, for some Wizards fans, just keep in mind that in past years, this team may have not been strong enough or have had enough depth with John being out to be this many games over 500 with him being out.
Exactly. Like I said, this is his best team since that Paul Pierce year. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, he broke his hand. That's what messed the floor. That's what messed things up, and Atlanta took him out. And I always say if he had not got hurt, they would have beat Atlanta. So they were up. They was up like 3-1, I think. So he broke his fractured his wrist, a hand, and it was wrapped. So Jeff T went crazy. So that's what happened. So, man, look, I'm excited. Playoffs in the end. We're 66 games in already.
Yeah, man.
So playoffs getting real close. So, like I said, pile up the wins. That's all you can do.
Hey, Hey, game by game, right? Hey, man,
Exactly.
now, please definitely go get some rest.
I wish somebody head up to Xfinity now, man.
All right, man. Safe travels and enjoy the rest of the day. And I would tell you don't work too hard, but we both know that's not gonna be an issue.
Nah, I ain't do
Yeah,
it like that. Got put it all in. I
already know.
got you,
Got to
man.
empty the tank. Have a good one, man.
All right, you too.
All right, folks. Again, want to thank Cardell Dudley for calling back in to make sure he didn't leave me by myself for the Wizard segment. So had someone to talk to. That's always a positive thing. We're gonna take another quick break. When we get back, DC United update, and we're gonna be talking with my guy Owen Riese about some of these NFL draft prospects on the offensive side of the ball. Welcome back. You guys are watching The Focus. Thank you guys so far for those of you that have been tuned in since the very beginning. We're having a good show, having a fun time, man. You missed, if you just tuned in, you already missed a great segment on the high school states. Basketball on the boys' side, some A10 tournament talk. Just finished our Wizard segment. Got some DC United talk right now. And then we got my guy Owen calling in to talk about these NFL draft prospects. Again, we're only doing the offensive side of the ball today. We're going to have him call in another time to talk about the prospects on the defensive side because our show's only an hour. We don't have 2 hours to do this. And Owen and I could probably talk about these prospects for far more than 2 hours, give or take. That being said, on the DC United side of things, attended training this week on, one of the ugly days this week was rainy and cold and ugly outside. One of the things they were working on was just about ball retention, man, doing a better job of keeping possession. They ended up drawing their first game of the season last week, even though they were up a man for much of the second half. A big reason for that was that they struggled to maintain possession. And then when they did win the ball back, they didn't make the best decisions when on the ball, and sometimes the decisions were far too slow. So that was one of the big emphasis in the open training that I attended this week, was making quicker and better decisions on the ball. And obviously, another thing you got to keep in mind, a lot of new faces. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to get familiar with each other's and that chemistry to really start meshing together. But I also expect that it's going to happen sooner than later. There's a lot of quality players in that midfield, a lot of quality players that have been added to this roster. And they keep adding. They just added Dane Kelly yesterday, I believe. So DC United is not done with their entire roster, man. And again, for the first time out, last week wasn't horrible. For much of the game, they were up 1-0. It looked like it was going to be a positive outing, a positive result. Instead, again, they got the draw. But again, I wouldn't take too much negative in that. It's very early and so many new pieces. Hopefully, you get a chance to see Lucho in with some of those guys this week. I especially want to see how Lucho and Assad mesh together in midfield. One of the things that's been on my mind a little bit, and I think will really kind of unlock their attack a bit more, is the speed that they have up top in Darren Maddox. They just gotta get familiar with him a little bit and how to provide service to that type of a forward. A lot of the time, last week at least, saw them a lot of times trying to play the ball to his feet. He's the type of guy with that type of game breaking speed. You don't have to play it to his feet, man. Kind of, in American football, how you would take a guy, you got a guy going deep with outstanding speed. You kind of let it go early and let them run up underneath it. Similar to that is what you want to do with Darren Maddox. You want to put that ball out there and let him go get it. You put it out there to a spot and honestly try to put it out there enough where only he can get it. And if he doesn't, it is what it is. It's cool. But more times than not, when you find out, you get comfortable with just how much pace he has, what he can get to and what he can't, it's going to really unlock things and put it a really crazy pressure on that back line where he can go from 0 to 100. And while they're trying to stop him, man, you can have people filling the box. And also just put him in better situations. He had one chance last week, kind of a little breakaway where they played the ball out to him and let him go get it. But they need to do that far more often because he's just not the type where you're gonna play it to his feet and hold up play and whatnot. They got to figure out a way to use him better, and I think they will. They have quality players, quality passers in the midfield, and it's coming. But that is something to definitely keep an eye on when they can unlock him in terms of how to provide him with the type of service to use him to optimize him. It'll definitely take a jump. But they play Atlanta this week. That's a Saad's old team. I think they're leaving today. The game is tomorrow. So definitely tune in and check that out. That being said, want to welcome my guy Owen to the phone. Well, to the show. Owen's on the phone. Well, welcome to the show. I'm not a morning person, so I'm struggling this morning. What's going on, Owen?
Hey, man. How we doing?
I'm good, man. Long time, man. You've been busy, guy.
Yeah. I try to stay as busy as I can, but yeah, it's been a minute. I'm glad to be back, though.
Man, so busy. So what you've been up to since, you were with us for a little while, Bucky's Fifth Quarter, the Acme Packing Company, and Inside the Pylon. I am so happy that, these outlets recognize the gift that you have and allow you to share what you know, sir. Because I know I've always enjoyed, what you bring, what you take from the game and, your experiences. I think play a big role into why you can provide such quality information. That being said, you are here today to talk about the offensive prospects in this year's draft. And I guess what better place to start than everyone's favorite, apparently, quarterbacks, where everybody goes crazy about it.
Sure, yeah. So, I don't know. Obviously, I think the big story was that Sam Darnold didn't throw. I don't think that's much of a concern. It's a media thing. They get to talk about it, and some. I know some like old school scouts would probably say, well, if you're a competitor, quote unquote competitor,
right?
You should be looking to perform in everything you can and compete and come out and whatever. I don't think it's a big deal. Anybody that needs a quarterback is going to look at him. They're all going to be at his pro day. They're all going to work him out privately.
Mm-hmm.
They'll see how he throws the ball. I don't think it's a big concern. Overall, I was pretty impressed. I know, and actually, I was pretty impressed as well with the coverage by the NFL Network. They did a really good job. Kurt Warner, I know, was like texting into the show because he wasn't there, but David Carr was doing a good job too, talking about how like the quarterbacks were you could tell who had been under center and who had, because they were very, the guys that hadn't were very lazy getting to the top of their drops.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how, like, I think they were running slants. And Michael Irvin was talking about, he's like, yeah, like, I know there's no defense here and we're just here to throw the ball and see the receivers catch it and run or whatever. He's like, but these are like hospital balls that these quarterbacks are throwing. And they were saying that like they're taking so long and they're so lax getting to the top of their drop. And then they have to absolutely fire it in rather than being a little more urgent to get to the top of the drop, and then you can have a little time to get the ball and get set up and throw it. So I think you saw a little bit of that. Obviously, Josh Allen is made to excel at the combine. He's a big dude. He's athletic, and he has a cannon for an arm. And they showed it. He threw it from the 10 to the 25 or whatever. Pretty,
it's a beautiful throw.
Not effortlessly, but pretty casually. Yeah, I think that's a perfectly made situation for a guy like him.
Yep.
Someone that's physically impressive, and the questions are maybe his decision making, but there aren't any decisions to make when you have one dude running a route with no one covering him. So I think he did well there. I don't dislike him as much as a lot of people do. I think he got overhyped very, very quickly.
I agree with that.
And the Twitter.com is very good at reacting and then overreacting to the reaction. So I think I don't think he improved as much as you'd like him to see from his sophomore to his junior year, but I don't think he's nearly as bad as a lot of people say. I know some people have him like, yeah, well, I wouldn't take him until the 4th or 5th round.
No, it's not that bad.
No, if your team took him in the 2nd round, you'd be like, holy crap, that's a really good pick.
Yeah,
that's a really
value.
solid. He might be a franchise quarterback, and if he's not, we only use the 2nd round instead of the 1st overall.
Exactly.
So, whatever, I thought he was good. Baker looked good. I thought Lamar did a good job too. I really like Lamar Jackson. I don't have any quote unquote rankings yet or anything, but a lot of people, I'll be walking around, I'll be in the gym or whatever, and people know that I do football stuff,
right.
So they're like, yeah, well, what do you think? And I had a guy that talked to me, he's like, yeah, I wouldn't draft him. He's, whatever. And I was like, no, you're wrong. Like, I put him on my team. He'll be okay.
Hey, thank you so much for bringing it up. So, real quick before we move on to another position, because this is something that's been bothering the heck out of me with Lamar. So, where did this narrative come from that his offense, like he played in a dummy offense?
All right, so I think people, I think probably one of the bigger things I get a kick out of, too, is that there are a lot of people that I follow on Twitter that I respect and are very smart about football, and that's who I listen to. There are a lot of people with, 13 followers that know NFL offense is better than people that are in the league, obviously. Yes. And they're like, yeah, well, it's one read and run or whatever. He comes from the Earhart-Coryell offense. It's an NFL offense. The terminology is what the Patriots use. The terminology is the basis of what the Patriots offense uses. And I don't know if people forgot that Bobby Petrino was an NFL head coach 10 years ago. So
I feel like they conveniently forgot for this.
And he's an offensive coach, and he was a head coach in the NFL. So I think people want to do that, and especially people are always taught, I think, growing up too, and I think it's kind of gradually starting to change. But people's thing is, well, a good quarterback sits in the pocket and waits until the very last second to get rid of the ball if they have to. And that's cool. That's not a bad thing. I don't think that's wrong. But I think it's very funny that people loved Michael Vick, right, for his scrambling ability and how amazing that was. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing about Michael Vick is that he can make a defense wrong even when they win.
Yep.
And that's what Lamar Jackson can do. Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick, I don't think anyone's going to say, yeah, they're the most polished passer I've ever seen. They're not. But they're wildly inconsistent, but their peaks are insane. And they present the thing that ultimately scares the hell out of a defense, is that we can do everything right and they can still get the first down, they can still run for it. And I think that's something that, unlike almost any other quarterback in this class, that he can do. I know Charles McDonald posted something because someone had tweeted, Charles does good stuff, by the way, does Setting the Edge and Right to the Alcoholic, and he's a good dude. Someone had tweeted at him that, he should have stayed in the pocket. And Charles put the play, videoed the play and put it on Twitter. And he's like, yeah, he should stay in the pocket and get sent to the hospital like a real man on this throw instead of running for a first down. So it's just, I think it's a stigma. I think people are afraid of things they don't understand. There's things they don't see very often. And you don't very often see athletes like Lamar Jackson who are also capable throwers at the quarterback position. A lot of people in high school put their best athlete at quarterback and are told, if it's not there, run. So I think people, associate that with, even in the higher levels, that, they're just there to run if it's not there. So it's some laziness, it's some ignorance. Some people just don't know any better. Some people are just racist. But you get to the point where Lamar's a good quarterback. I don't know if you take a number one overall or anything. It's the same. I'm pretty lukewarm about these quarterbacks. I'm usually you can probably talk me in or out of most of these dudes. But
I'm kind of with you.
As far as the combine, I think they all did pretty well, and I think as far as Lamar going in, I'm really happy that he shut down the wide receiver stuff right away.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, are you guys going to ask Josh Allen to do tight end drills?" No? Okay, cool. So I'm happy he did that. I think he's good. He's a black quarterback that's very fast, so people think that all he does is run. But
it takes 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds to watch some tape and be like, oh, okay, he can throw, or oh, he processes kind of quick, instead of just being like I'm just saying, we're in the information age. You can literally just type in Google Lamar Jackson throwing the ball.
Well, and there were times this year too where I think you could tell that he was conscious of that and was very I need to stay in the pocket. And there were times where they were less effective because he was like, well, I need to throw this ball from the pocket rather than go get a first down, bro.
Right. Yeah, and it's an issue that now all quarterbacks have to deal with. But to move on, all right, we got Saquon Barkley. Everybody loves Saquon Barkley. Love. I like Saquon. I'm not in love with Saquon. Can you talk about some of the other backs that you like? Give me 2 other names that you think, that might have that Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara type vibe where you get them a little bit later, but you pretty much still walked away with a first-round talent at the position.
So I really like Ronald Jones from USC. I think he's really good. I think the match made in heaven with him is if you can get him to. I think he'll go in the second round. He didn't run in Indy, but I think the match made in heaven with him is if you can get him to San Francisco and let him run that outside zone stuff with Kyle Shanahan and play off of Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he can excel there. He's a very natural runner. He's not the most athletic guy, and he's not the biggest guy. And sometimes his running style can lend to him not always protecting himself, or because of that, he thinks he's more athletic than he is, type of thing. But he's one of them I really like. And then another guy who is actually down at the Senior Bowl is Rashad Penny.
San Diego State Rashad Penny, right?
Of him. What was that?
San Diego State's Rashad Penny, correct? Okay.
Yep. And he kind of came out of nowhere for some people. He sat behind Donnell Humphrey, or Pumphrey, excuse me. But he did run for 1,000 yards last year as the backup. But that's he's not. I don't think he has any like one particular outstanding trait. He's been a kick returner. He's fast, but he's not like breakaway speed. I think he ran a 4.5 something at the combine. But he's pretty good. I like him a lot. He's got experience running behind that pro style system. I know we talked to Emory Hunt, and one of his things was Saquon Barkley, because a lot of people say he doesn't have very good vision.
Dude.
He's like, I don't think that's true. But when you start, like, every single play, he's staggered on one side or the other of the quarterback. He doesn't get to sit at 7 yards with the quarterback under center and look at the entire defense. And that's something that Penny gets to do. Penny is there. He's 7.5 yards back. He's got a fullback in front of him. And he's got really good vision. I think that he's someone like Kareem Hunt, who he doesn't have one in particular outstanding trait, but he's just a very solid runner. And I think he's going to make someone really happy. And then in the fourth round, and then probably the other one is John Kelly from Tennessee.
Okay.
Feel bad for John Kelly. He was behind Jalen Hurd, who's at Baylor now, and then he was behind Alvin Kamara, so he didn't really get a ton of run. And then this year, Tennessee, he played really well against Georgia Tech, and Tennessee won that first game, but then their offense and their team really kind of fell off the rails right after that. I don't think he had 1,000 yards, but he was really the only offensive option they had. And playing Georgia and Alabama and Florida and those defenses every year, he's not going to do real well. He's a very physical runner, vicious stiff arm, and he's got the same thing with Kamara, is he has exceptional balance through contact.
Right.
He doesn't go down with one dude, and he doesn't go down with like a shot from the side. He's very sturdy. He's very balanced, very strong. And he's someone, too, that I don't think has any, like, outstanding traits or anything. Like, holy cow, he does this better than anybody in the draft. But I think he's someone that's going to be a better pro player than he was in college just because of what he had around him and the circumstances that he kind of dealt with at Tennessee.
All right, man. So, again, this is why we asked Owen to call in, man. Outstanding insight. So we're going to move on. We're going to move on to maybe your wheelhouse a little bit. Going to talk about the big uglies up front. So everyone, for the most part, I think everybody loves Quentin Nelson by far. People drool over him quite a bit. You think he's going top 10?
He should.
Okay.
If I were the Giants, I'd take him at 2.
Okay, cool. So I'm not the only crazy person who thinks like you might be drafting like a regular All-Pro at that position that high. Because I see some people frowning upon taking offensive linemen that high that aren't tackles, but this is a special prospect here. Yeah,
and so I've seen a few things. I mean, if the Giants want to take a quarterback, I can't really fault them for that. Eli's like 37, and Davis Webb is awful, and he was picked last year in the third round. He's not going to be the future there. So if they want to go get their quarterback, I can't really blame them there. But I know during the combine coverage, Rich Eisen was, let's get Saquon to the Giants. And I think it was Sean O'Hara. He's like, Rich, there's no one in front of him to block. So I don't know what you want him to do there. And that's where, if I'm the Giants, if I'm Dave Gettleman, I said, okay, we got Eli for 1 year. We can get a quarterback in the second round, or if we believe in Davis Webb or whatever the situation is. But the biggest weakness on our team is that is the offensive line. The offensive line is not good. They've got Eric Flowers there, who's kind of been a bust. They have Weston Richburg as their center, is pretty good, but he has concussion issues. He's like 25 years old. Justin Pugh is a free agent. DJ Fluker is their other guard. He sucks. And they already cut Bobby Hart, who was their right tackle last year. So, you really have no offensive line at all. So go get the best offensive line. He might be the best player in the draft, honestly. And you're right, like he's not the sexy value pick, like he's not a quarterback at 2, or he's not a pass rusher or a corner or whatever. But he's going to be an all-pro.
Yes.
Zach Martin, the Cowboys took Zach Martin at, I think, 19. He fell. And everyone's like, oh, well, is he going to play left tackle? I was like, no, he's going to be a right guard, and he's going to be a Pro Bowl right guard.
Right.
His rookie year, and he was. And that's the same thing you're with Quentin Nelson. You're going to get, you're probably not going to get as big of a boom there, but I think he's the safest prospect in the draft. He's going to be your best offensive lineman day one, and he's just a culture changer. He's a kicker, an ass kicker. He's there. He's going to be your best run blocker, and it just sets the tone. New York used to be known for their physical play, and they've kind of gotten away from that. And I think Gettleman, coming from Carolina, will want to do the same thing, and that's where Nelson fits right in. And there's been no concern over his on-field play or his off-the-field, which is pretty rare in this day and age of picking everything apart. So I think Quentin Nelson's the best offensive line prospect I've seen, and he's incredible. I would have no qualms taking him at number 2 overall.
All right, I just want to make sure I'm not crazy, okay? Because, like, I loved him, and I was just like, I'm hoping he falls to 9 for personal reasons, but he shouldn't. Again, he shouldn't. But, you know, I'm cool with bad teams doing bad stuff, but there's no way in heck he should be falling at all. 2 more linemen we're going to bring up real quick so we move on before we run out of time. I saw you tweeted, you got into a little discussion on Twitter with this guy who's just bashing Orlando Brown Jr. about the reps at the combine. The other guy in Orlando Brown is the big Oklahoma kid. And then also want to hear your thoughts on Will Hernandez real quick. So Orlando Brown and then Will Hernandez.
All right, so yeah, I just actually got done writing a piece on Orlando Brown. He might be the least of all the prospects in the draft, especially in the offensive line, he might be like the least dependent on his athletic testing outside of Quentin Nelson. So,
which means
so people that
really technically sound.
They don't matter. They don't matter. Yeah. So, okay. So for the people that don't know, Orlando Brown Jr.'s dad, Orlando Brown, was a massive human being. He was like 6'8", 350, about the same size as kid is. And he played offensive tackle in the NFL for a while. He died a few years ago. And Orlando was a 400-plus pound high school kid who really kind of got into football after his dad passed away. He had played, but never really thought of it. But then when his dad died, he really wanted to do that for his dad, to honor his dad. So, like I said, in high school, he was over 400 pounds, and he came out for football and basically was able to do enough to get a scholarship from Oklahoma without being all that good. And I don't mean that as a knock, but just someone who's that raw and that big,
right.
It's all potential at that point. So he gets to Oklahoma, and he's a 3-year starter at left tackle. And I think he's clearly, this last year was his best year. He said before the season that he was down to 340 pounds, which is the lightest he had been since 7th grade. So so clearly the weight has been an issue, right? Mm-hmm. So he's back down to 345 or 340-ish range, which is probably about where he should be. The other thing, too, is that someone who's been overweight my whole life, your upper body strength is your last thing to come. And when you're overweight and you're a big dude like that, I think a lot of people's first assumption is, oh, you're a big kid, you're strong, nice and strong. And I think Brown's legs are very strong, and you can see it when he run blocks. He gets insane movement on dudes in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is he's 21 years old, and your upper body is your last thing to come. So when it's so underdeveloped, because he's been so big, most guys, when you go to college as an offensive lineman, they're trying to stack weight on you.
Right.
So you're a big, strong kid. We're trying to get you up to 315, 320.
He's already
been trying to get down from over 400. He's back down. So he lost 50-something pounds when he was at Oklahoma. So that's something where the concern with him has been, well, yeah, you're going to do the workouts and you're going to get stronger, but the concern's been the weight. It hasn't been him getting stronger. So he's underdeveloped from that standpoint, and he's got long arms, but other dudes have long arms that benched more than him, and that's not what I'm here to dispute. But the thing is like you have to take this into context. And other people are beating him up over his 40-yard dash, and I was like, yes, it was very slow, but I don't know what you expect a 6'8", 350-pound dude to run. So that's where I took some exception to that. I don't think he's quite as good as where he was being mocked to. I'd seen him to the Bengals at 12, and I thought that was a little rich for me. When I first watched him back in January, and was kind of like, I get it. But I didn't see him and Connor Williams. I watched them both, and I was like, yeah, they're like second-round guys, and they're big dudes, and they're completely different as players. But especially for Brown, I was like, I get it. He's going to be very limited just because he's never going to be a good athlete.
Right.
He's a very good athlete for his size, but on the spectrum of things, he's not a good athlete. So I guess the biggest thing is with his play, he doesn't depend on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where it's critical to kind of get that context of his game isn't predicated on out athleting you. And I know in pass protection, he's actually pretty good, but it's mostly just because he's so big. And it's the same thing with Trent Brown in San Francisco.
That's what I was about to bring
he played
up.
right guard. He played right guard in Florida, and he wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great big dude, and he would get insane movement in the run game because he's so big and strong. But he would get rotated out of the game because he couldn't play the whole game because he wasn't conditioned well enough and couldn't stay engaged with his blocks at guard, which everything happens way quicker. Which as when you're slower, that's worse. So when Brown moved to tackle, eventually, and if you would have told me that he'd end up being as good as he is, I would have laughed in your face. But for Trent Brown, his biggest asset is he's pretty nimble.
Yep.
But he's so big
it takes
that you
you
can't,
it takes you an hour to get around him.
To get around.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the same thing. I remember reading a scouting report in a magazine like 5 years ago of a lineman who plays in Canada now. But I saw it then, and he's a $25 cab ride to get around. And I thought the same thing the second I watched Orlando Brown. I was like, he's so big that even if, you have to beat him to beat him. If that sounded awful, but
you have to whip him so
you have to
clean.
beat him clean to get around him. Because he's so big, you can beat him, but he can still recover because he's that big.
Exactly.
And that's something where Orlando Brown is he'll be a starting tackle in the NFL. I don't think he's ever going to be a stud, but the person I thought of was Rob Havenstein from the Rams, who was probably drafted a little too high, but he was in the second round. He was a guy who played at Wisconsin, who came in from high school at 380 pounds, and now he's in the NFL at 320. And he's like a big body catcher. He's 6'8", so he's never going to be a quote unquote bender. He's never going to be a very good athlete, but he's so big and he can just kind of collect you, and not lose too much steam. And that's ultimately where Brown's going to be. I think he's going to be an average starting tackle in the NFL, maybe a little above average. And that's probably you take someone in the second round. But that's basically my whole thing was I just wanted to defend the kid on Twitter because nothing changed from Orlando Brown from the day before he benched to the day after.
Yep.
But apparently he went from a first-round pick to a day 3 pick because he couldn't bench a lot and he was slow.
And
I was
again,
like,
this is for a prospect
bench
who
a lot
didn't
and
give
was
up a
slow
sack.
3 months ago, but you thought he was a first-round pick then.
Yeah.
So it's not a 300-pound offensive lineman coming out and running a 6-second 40. Like he's 350, and like I said, as I explained, he was much, much heavier. He's not going to be a crazy athlete. And that's so, to tear a bad athlete apart for being a bad athlete, to me, just didn't make much sense.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I commend you for stepping up for him. And again, like you said, before the quote-unquote, supposedly bad bench press, he was one of the, the same people were looking at him as a solid, some people are looking at him way more than solid tackle prospect because he went through the whole year and didn't give up a sack. So you shouldn't hate someone.
Cody Whitehair from the Bears benched 15 reps, too. He played left tackle, and he plays center in the NFL. He had 15 reps. That's not a death sentence by any means.
Nope.
And that was where, and I know a few people I thought, too, I was like, bro, this kid's 21 years old, and he just had the worst 2 days of his life. And you're going to pile on Twitter because you think he's a worse football player than you did 2 days ago, when really he's the same. And then people were bugging him. He's like, yeah, well, he's got a bad work ethic. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He works with Jamal Brown, the old Oklahoma tackle, who's like an Oklahoma Hall of Famer. He's got dudes around him. It's a big-time project and work in progress, and he's come a long way, but he's still got a long way to go. So I think that's where, I think his best football is ahead of him. I think his best physical appearance and physical performance are ahead of him as well. And I think it's where you can't value the combine too much.
Right.
I know, and Mayock talked about it. He's like, yeah, well, what do you do? He talked to a GM. He's like, well, what do you do if a player doesn't fit what you look for? He's like, at what point do you still do that? And the general manager was like, well, you have to take it where you can. He's like, you can't have a team full of exceptions.
Right.
So you just have to really make sure. And I think that's where I think Brown's a guy that's worth taking a chance on, despite his very poor testing, just because he wasn't going to. There was a tackle that was 320 pounds at the Senior Bowl, who everyone thought was really athletic, and ran a 4.55 or a 5.45, and it's still faster than what Brown ran. But like, well, this guy is supposed to be a good athlete, and he ran very slow as well. But he's not getting killed because he's just not a first-round pick. So I don't know. I think there's a lot going on there. I think Brown will be fine. Yeah, that was something where I was like, where are you guys coming from with this? Like, I don't know what you expected him to run. Like, that's like when a 250-pound running back runs a 4.7, and everyone's like, oh, wow, he's so slow. Like,
no.
Like, what do you think he's like? He's not going to run a 4.3.
But my whole thing is, it's the splits that matter anyway, so why are you going crazy?
Well, and his split was pretty bad, too. But it's at the same point where you're like, he's that big, like, whatever. And, like, he's never going to be a super explosive guy. And I don't mean to say this because, like, the scouts have seen it, and they're like, well, yeah, he's not very explosive. Like, we've seen him play. So you're not surprised by that. So it's just I don't know. I'm sure it's more of a Twitter thing than an NFL thing, but it was very poor testing, and that's not to be, like, dismissed. But I think he, maybe more than any player in the draft, I think could probably get away with it just because that's not what he does.
And
now,
the thing that
to get on to Will Hernandez, because I just took 5 minutes to talk about Orlando Brown.
Go ahead. We're going to have to end it after this, so go ahead.
I think Will Hernandez is very good. I think he's someone that you know. I think he's Mike Iupati.
Yep.
I think he's an ass kicker in the run game.
Yep.
He's a great big dude. He showed up light at the combine. He was 340 at Mobile. And he was like 327 in Indy, and he ran well. He ran like a 5.1. And I was very surprised by that. I think he did a really good job in Indy. And he's another guy where some people would say, well, you can't take a guard round one.
Why not?
I was like, if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars at 29 and we're trying to get this big, mean group of run blockers in front of this 240-pound running back, like, that's a match made in heaven for the Jaguars to get Hernandez at 29. I don't think I think he pretty clearly can be picked in the first round. He had like 37 bench reps and ran a 5.1 at 330 pounds. So that's someone where he is very big and he is athletic, and that should do nothing but boost him rather than cutting down Brown. But I think Hernandez is really good. I thought he was a little more limited on tape, and I was like, I really don't know if this guy's as good as everyone wants him to be. And then I watched him in Mobile, and he was like, he would win a rep really well, and then he would get toasted the next rep. And I was like, man, like, I don't know if this dude's who you say he is. But then I watched back again, and the more I watched it, I was like, he's really good.
Right.
And then you see it in Indy, and you're like, well, I don't know if he can move. But then you saw him move, and I was like, well, maybe he just needed to lose 15, 20 pounds to do it. But I'm very impressed with him. He's very good. And he said the first thing he's going to buy with his NFL contract is one of those toilets.
Dude,
don't have
that had me
toilet
dying.
paper. So
that had me dying.
Big dudes, bro.
Hey, look. Thank you so much for calling in, man. We're definitely going to have you back on because we still got wide receivers, tight ends, tired defense to get to. And like I said, I could sit here and talk to you about it all day. But tell everybody where they can find you at on Twitter. We had it up a couple of times, but just to give them a quick reminder.
Yeah, so I'm at Riese Draft, RIESE Draft. I write for Bucky's Fifth Quarter, which is the Wisconsin SB Nation site. I write for Acme Packing Company, which is the Packers SB Nation site. And then you can find me on Inside the Pylon. I think I'm going to put something up pretty soon about like defensive fronts and how you can identify them. So that'll probably go on Inside the Pylon. So
all right, man.
Look for me there.
Hey, thank you so much, and keep up the great work. And we're definitely going to have you back. And I'll make sure we have a little bit more time to talk so we can just talk casually. But thank you so much for calling in, man. We were very happy to have you here with us on The Focus, and I'll get up with you soon.
All right, bro. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, everybody. That was my guy, Owen Riese. Great football mind to talk to. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Focus TV. Get over to finestmag.com. I'm on sports.com. Thanks for watching.